Well, here we have the 70 MAI or 70 MAI dashcam from the company Xiaomi. Now, as far as I know, this is the same company, Xiaomi, that makes the excellent YI2 digital action camera, which is one of the benchmarks of action cameras. And so they're no strangers to video making. And I've had it a couple of days now, given it a test run. I've got some day and night footage at the end of this video. And I think for a budget action camera, this is exceedingly good value. Just £25 on Banggood at the moment. And it will save you that much 10 times over if you had a dispute on an insurance claim. Quite a small size, so quite discreet to mount. No screen, but how many people drive along looking at the screen on a dashcam? I certainly don't. It does record sound, and in fact it's got voice commands. I'll come into that in a bit. But in fact I don't really see much necessity for recording sound on a dashcam, but you can turn that on and off. Let's take a closer look. On the front here we've got a 130-degree wide-angle lens. That's 130. It's got a Sony Exmor sensor. Mounting bracket here, which lets it shift around so that you can get the desired angle. As far as mounting it goes, I don't know if you can see this, there's a little electrostatic sticker here. The idea being that you stick that to your windscreen and then you stick this to the sticker, which means if you ever wanted to remove it, you're not going to damage the windscreen. So good idea. You also get a nice long cable that will stretch from your cigarette lighter socket, and they should provide a cigarette lighter plug there for it. That would go all the way around the windscreen. So obviously when you power up, providing your cigarette lighter socket is one that powers up when you turn the ignition on, this would also turn on the dash cam. To prevent the camera overheating, which can be a common problem in places with a lot of sunlight, they do recommend, if you have a cigarette lighter socket that's live all the time, that you unplug it when it's not in use. You get the manual with it here that doesn't go into a great deal of detail, but there is a QR code there for complete instructions for the camera, plus a QR code for the app, which you do need because the first time you plug it in, it will ask you to activate. This is a one-off operation. Some people have complained about having to install an app to use it. Well, you don't need the app to actually use it, just for a one-off activation. Once it's actually activated, it will just work when it's plugged in. It doesn't come with a micro card. When you first put the card in, it will probably, via its voice commands, ask you to format the card. I'll tell you about that in a sec, very easy. Speaking of cards, I've tried it with 16 gig SanDisk and 64 gig Class 3, which is super high speed, Samsung Evo. They do recommend Class 10 or above, and 64 gig is the maximum size it will take. As far as cards go, as with all dash cams, this loop records, which means it records a series of short videos, and when the card has reached capacity, it will start writing over the videos it took at the start. In my test, it was roughly 2 hours to 16 gig. So if you wanted to record and have on record the whole of, shall we say, an 8-hour journey, you would actually need a 64 gig card. But like I say, it will never run out of memory because it loop records. Battery wise, there is a small internal battery so that it captures the last 20 seconds or so of your journey when you do turn the ignition off. On this end you've got the power button and a speaker, and around that, as you'll see in a second, is an LED light ring. On this end, micro USB, SD card slot, and a reset hole to use if it crashes. I mentioned the card size. Cards go in logo side towards 70th of May. So let's see what happens when you plug in, or if this is what would happen if you actually turned on in the car. So when it's first powered up, it plays a little tune and tells you it started recording.
Start recording.
And as you can see here, the LED at the end here is pulsating, or they call it breathing, with a green colour. That means it's recording. Now it's got 3 colour codes here. Red means you've got an error. Blue means waiting for Wi-Fi connection. On the subject of which you can actually activate Wi-Fi.
Closing hotspot.
By one short press of the button. Press again, turns the Wi-Fi on.
Hotspot was closed. Opening hotspot.
Which they say is opening hotspot. And to format the card, it's just a question of 3 presses, which goes
Hotspot was opened.
1, 2, 3.
Formatting now.
Formatting now, flashing blue light.
Formatting succeeded.
Formatting succeeded.
Start recording.
Now there are 2 QR codes in the little manual that comes with this. One takes you to the app, and the other QR code takes you to the more detailed instructions for installation and operation of this camera. You can get free QR code apps in Play Store and iOS, but if you haven't got one, you can just go online and search 70MAI for the app. It installs very easily. Password for that first installation is 12345678. I'll give you a quick demo of what happens when you plug it in. Now default is Wi-Fi starting when you turn on. So basically the Wi-Fi is always there. If you want to use the app, you can actually see what the camera is looking at. I'll come into that. Wi-Fi, 70th of May, straightforward enough. Connect. I've already installed this, obviously, as I mentioned, password 12345678. Connect. On my phone it says connected but no internet, and it will ask, do I want to connect? I'll go into the app, which it says is not connected because I didn't have the GPS on. Now there's a lesson there. I should have known that. I say you only have to have the GPS on your phone if you want to use the app. After you've activated the camera the first time using the app and set up the angle, you don't really need to use it again. So let's get back to that. Should be alright now. Now it says connected. Okay. And any second you should see, with a bit of luck, this stuff never works when I try and demonstrate it, upside down at the moment, but you can see there, very useful for when you're setting up the camera the first time, i.e. sticking it to your windscreen. Very useful, you can actually see what you're looking at, and if you go there, you've got full screen. I know it's upside down, never mind. I've only got 2 hands here, can't turn it round. Can I turn it round? Nice clear image. So that's handy for setup. The app has also got some other useful stuff. Now if you were unfortunate enough to have an incident and wanted to review your recordings, you could either go into album. I'm not going to do it because it will actually shut the thing down at the moment. It says here this will stop it recording when you enter album, but you can go into album. You could also take the card out and plug it into a PC and look at your recordings, or you can plug the unit into a PC and it will see the whole thing as mass storage, and you can open the files and save them that way. So you've got a number of ways of doing it, and as I mentioned, you've only got to use the app that first time. Once it's actually activated, it just works, so don't worry too much about installing an app. You've also got device settings here, power on Wi-Fi. It's got a G sensor in it, and the idea being that it will start recording an emergency video, I think, if you have a collision. Speaker volume, image quality, so on and so on. The other thing I mentioned briefly, I think, was the fact it's got voice commands. Well, I can't say I had too much success with that, but perhaps it just didn't like my voice. But most of the commands can be operated by button presses, so it's not really so important. So it's my only criticism of it really is the voice commands. I think for £25 it's certainly exceedingly good value, and you'll see my test clips coming up. Certainly good enough for an insurance company if you had a problem with an accident. Well, I think that just about covers everything there. I hope you've enjoyed this and found it useful. If you have, maybe you'd like to click subscribe and be notified when I upload another video. Loads of videos on my channel. Dozens of action camera tests, sailing videos, quadcopter videos, paragliding, paramotoring, all kinds of stuff. Well, that's enough waffle from me. I think it's time to get on with the test clips. you.